Hello, everyone. Hello, and welcome to the new episode and final episode of Not Stopping Now in this version 2025 for the ocean. This webinar where we try to dive into the depths of marine conservation and biology. As usual, we organize this webinar it's a collaboration between the Climate Ambassador Program of Antarctica, the Heritage Council, and the Biodiversity Officer Network. I'm Mariana Coleman. I'm representing Climate Ambassador Program of Antarctica. I organize this always in partnership with Marina Mulligan. She's not today with us, but she might be listening right now. She's the Biodiversity Officer for Waterford City and County Council, and she's part of the wider Heritage Council Biodiversity Officer Network, a diverse group of wildlife professionals that work within councils to create local authority biodiversity action plans. As I mentioned, this webinar, we create this trying to find and discover some species and habitats around the Irish coast, and also to know people and groups that are working for the environment, and most importantly, to try to inspire a little bit of action on you who are listening to us right now. So this is also Climate Action Week, so happy Climate Action Week, everyone. And to honor the name of the week, we invited today people from Clean Coast, professionals, my dear colleagues from Clean Coast, who are going to talk about community climate action. First of all, I'm going to present Liane Costello. Sorry if I'm butchering your names. I work with you, but I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly. Liane has been working with Clean Coast since 2020. She has a background in marine biology, community engagement, and communication. Prior to her new position as Clean Coast Biodiversity Officer, Liane was a campaign officer on the Think Before You Flush campaign. As Biodiversity Officer, Liane's aim is to encourage communities to champion local biodiversity. She's truly passionate about Clean Coast community and is excited to see the future of biodiversity integration within the program. And also, she's going to be in charge of the Q&A today, Sinéad Keogh. Sinéad, who will be, as I said, in charge of the QA. She joined Clean Coast in 2023 as development officer in Wicklow and Wexford, and now she's development officer in Donegal. With a background in social science and master in marine sustainability, she's passionate about the connection between people and blue spaces. And I'm very happy to share in this last webinar of the season with you guys. So for the audience, what we're gonna do now, Liane is gonna talk about community climate action. Around 1:40, we're gonna switch to the Q&A. So please, if you have any questions, check below. You're gonna have the Q&A box. Put your questions there, please. You also can activate the captions if you want. Also here below, you're gonna see the logo for the CC for captions. So if you need it, you can activate it. And that's from my side for now. So with that said, Liane, the floor is yours.
Great. Thank you so much, Mariana, and to everyone who has coordinated this event and for having us for Climate Action Week. It gives me great pleasure to chat to you all today about our amazing Clean Coast communities and give you some examples of actions that are happening around the coast of Ireland at the moment. And hopefully it might inspire you into either getting involved with your local Clean Coast group or your local community group, or perhaps even something that you think could be beneficial in your area, you might start moving it into. So just first, before we go into the big details, who is on the call today? So we have myself, Liane Costello, who is Costello or Costello. I call myself Costello, but Costello sounds cooler, so you can go with either. Clean Coast Biodiversity Officer, and my general job is to integrate biodiversity within the Clean Coast program to support community groups and in general get people pretty buzzed about nature. And then we also have Sinéad Keogh online, who is the Development Officer for Donegal, as Mariana discussed. Sinéad, again, is there to facilitate groups in the Donegal region, and she'll be jumping on to give her insights with her work during the Q&A. Now, first things first, Clean Coast is a program of An Taisce. An Taisce is the National Trust for Ireland. We sit in a group of amazing other community and education programs, which you can see here on screen. We have things like Green Schools, Blue Flag Awards, the Climate Ambassadors who we're here with today, and we also have National Spring Clean, Green Campus, the LEAF program, a variety of different programs and outreach to try and engage communities in sustainability and environmental information and messaging. Now, another thing just to mention within the An Taisce umbrella, so we've got our kind of programs around community engagement and education and awards. We also have our team that work on advocacy, so they are working hard to advocate for Irish water quality, climate resilience, biodiversity, and active travel and built heritage. Now, we won't go into details about that today, but I do encourage you, if you've any interest in advocacy in your own region or within your own community, to jump on to An Taisce's website and check out the work that they do in advocacy. What we are here today to talk about is our community coastal action. And I've broken this up into 3 different buckets to try and capture as much of the work that's happening around the coasts by our Clean Coast communities, but also perhaps to give us maybe steps of engagement. So if we start with our cleanups, this is a really lovely, tangible action that pretty much everyone can do. You know, you need a pair of gloves, a picker. If you want to be a Clean Coast group, you can also apply to us and we'll send you out a bib and some bags. But pretty much everyone can do it. Everyone can pop out onto the beach. They can start picking up some litter and putting it into a bag and making a small tangible difference on their own local area. And sometimes it's not small. There's groups removing huge amounts of litter from our coast. So that's, I suppose, our first entry level. And then once we start hanging out in the coast loads, what we'll quite often find happening is that you'll start to notice the nature around you, or potentially you might start to notice some different issues within your area and things that you'd like to help with. And one of the ways we would love to see capturing that is through monitoring. So this is community groups starting to become active in monitoring their local areas, noticing the changes, whether it's due to climate, whether it's due to maybe changing water quality, anthropogenic effects, so that's us humans, what the impacts that we could be having on our environment. And I suppose putting that together, that we can then go to the next step at hoping to maybe restore these habitats. And we have groups who are involved in all 3 of these buckets, or all these 3 of these themes. We have some that are only sticking to the cleanups, perhaps some that are much more focused on restoring habitats, and some that really are trying to focus on the monitoring side of things. And one of the really nice things, though, is cleanups do tend to bring people together in big groups, and it's accessible for everyone across all ages. Whatever the background, most people can get themselves involved in a cleanup, which is fabulous. So what are we trying to do is we are trying to empower within Clean Coasts, us, myself, Sinead, our colleagues. What we're trying to do is facilitate community groups to become local guardians of their area, and becoming local guardians of their area, that hopefully that their efforts will feed into a greater picture of both management and protection at national and international levels. But looking at that very micro piece, so looking at their own little piece and how can they help that area. So how many pieces do we have covered all around Ireland, or how many localities? Well, we've 2,000 registered Clean Coast groups, and the bread and butter of most of these clean coast groups is that they run cleanups throughout the year. So we've hundreds of events throughout the year. We facilitate groups to be self-sufficient. So if they come to us, we will sort them out with equipment. We have a grant fund as well that we can help supply other things with. But the main thing is that we're trying to empower these groups to run these events throughout the year in the best way possible. It's a huge amount. Believe it's like we have pretty much on average kind of a group every 5 kilometers along the coast, and we've most beaches covered. I think this might be a slightly older map as well. I suspect we have a few more pinpoints to be added to it, but it just gives us a nice picture of how many groups are around the coast. And I suppose the nice thing about it as well is that this gives you a lot of hope that there is a lot of people looking after their local areas. It gives me lots of hope to work with these groups, and I hope as I go through the examples here, you'll see some nice efforts, and you'll get hope from this, and maybe encouragement to take your own action wherever you are, whether you're on the coast or inland. So first things first, we talk about the bread and butter of clean coasts. So it's beach cleans. So I needed to grab photos for this presentation, and it was quite difficult to decide which groups obviously to put into it. So I have very randomly selected a number of pictures from our most recent action. So this is the Big Beach Clean, which happens every year in September. It is one of our largest call to actions throughout the year. In 2025, this alone, we had 11,000 people registered for the Big Beach Clean. And we can see a variety of groups here. So from kind of Bray, Coast Clare, Duncannon Tidy Towns, we've got Howths, Maharees Conservation Association, Clean Coast Cove, we've got Culdaff Tidy Towns up in Donegal, Enniscrone Tidy Towns and Clean Coast Sligo, Tramore Eco Group down in Waterford, Lusk Cleaning Group in Dublin, and West Coast Surf Club out in Lahinch in County Clare. And what I love to see about this is lots of happy faces, enjoying themselves on a nice event, getting together as a community, getting together with like-minded people to make this, I suppose, this tangible difference on their little bit of coast. But when you put all these pictures together, it makes a really amazing message of united communities all around the coast of Ireland, really trying to do their best for their spot and looking after this island that we call home. And when we look at beach cleans, it is definitely, as I said before, it's very approachable way to get involved in environmentalism. And I encourage you, if you're not a part of one already, is to become a member or to join up with your local cleanup group. A nice example that we have here of taking it maybe one step further from doing the cleanups is we have Tom Haggard Clean Coast. They have a program called Returned from the Sea. So they were finding Tom Haggard while they were cleaning up their beaches down in Wexford. The group were finding a lot of fishing gear washed ashore. And I suppose to try and connect with the users of this and see if they can make a nice message from it and help to support the fishermen in the area. They approached the harbour master. They asked if maybe they could start returning some of the stuff that they were finding on the beach back to the harbour and see if any of the people working there would like to reuse it. And they've had great success. So you can see it's very full here. We have different types of ropes, pots. They quite often can find buoys, and all these things cost a lot of money. So the harbour is delighted that they get used again. And obviously the community group are absolutely delighted that it's going off the beach, but it's not just going to a landfill. And if further from that, so this is the Clean Coast community, I suppose, connecting with a different part of their community, the fishing community, to try and see if they can affect change on the litter that they're finding. Another Return from the Sea project, which is quite nice to have a look at, and I have a QR code to the link for the article here, is they found a chair, a random chair. They thought it was a very peculiar find on the beach. They got a sense that it kind of looked quite isolated, but then also this idea of nearly it was looking out to sea, that it's that connection with nature. And World Mental Health Day was last Friday. So for World Mental Health Day, they got the chair reupholstered, did it up, and then they gave it to a mental health charity in the area called It's Good to Talk as a symbol of hope and connection on the day, and just kind of celebrate the work that the group is doing also. So just two examples, a bit different from your normal beach clean, but maybe taking it that next step further. What can we use on the things that we find on the beach and bring them into other aspects of life, and how can we support other communities as well, not only our cleanup communities? From beach clean to the next step is we're moving up the line. We're heading towards maybe getting a bit more of an understanding of our marine environment, our coastal environment. One way that we like to support this, or we try to promote this through Clean Coast work, is we have created the Clean Coast Observer Initiative. The initiative was started in 2021 during COVID as a good reason to, I suppose, for people they could learn. It was an online learning, or it was a webinar that you could join in with the National Biodiversity Data Centre and Explore Your Shore program. It was run by Dave Wall, who runs the program, and an absolutely man with a huge amount of knowledge, and definitely recommend going to any of his events if you ever see one. It was started also with Olivia Jones, who is a colleague with ours in Clean Coast. And the aim is to try and capture that local knowledge. So when you have a Clean Coast group or you have a community group walking slowly out on the beach, they're taking their time to try and find all the litter. Can we also start getting them looking for other stuff? So can we start getting them to notice the different intertidal species? So those are those marine species that live between the high tide and the low tide mark. Can we get them to start recording this information? And I believe that we were successful in doing so, and this event is continuing, and this partnership will continue over the next year. But the aim is to capture that local knowledge, to assist research and policy, and if we can help to track our changing coast. So that is things if we start to see maybe difference in water quality, or again, if it's climate change, as I mentioned before, and again, our own human impact, and increase our own understanding of the area. So even to notice, maybe this looked like this last year and now it looks like this year. And I suppose in this time, and with the way we're during Climate Action Week, with the way things are changing quite rapidly, it's important that we all at a local level start to notice the differences in our nature, our biodiversity, the animals and plants that are around us. And they're going to tell us a huge amount in the kind of coming years with changes of climate. And then the last thing, and I suppose this can all be very serious all the time, but actually learning stuff about nature is really cool and it's really exciting. And I highly advise it, both as the biodiversity officer, but also as someone who has partook in Dave Wall's course with the Explore Your Shore with the National Biodiversity Data Centre. And I get to spend a lot of time in nature checking it out as well. And I feel it is one of the most relaxing things. It gives you such a buzz to be able to start noticing differences between seasons or even between years, when you start to notice things are changing, and potentially, hopefully, protect the areas that you are looking after. And this could lead to, this input could lead to amazing research. It could lead to amazing changes in policy. So it's a very important endeavour. Got a little video here now of a day out in Courtown Beach with the Explore Your Shore program. There's Dave. Nice, cool. And so just an extra shout out there. We also had Seal Rescue. Ireland came out to give us a talk. So they're based down in Courtown. They joined in on the day out. So we did the Clean Coast Observer and Explore Your Shore workshop. They joined in on the day out. And then they took a bit of time to tell us about the Seal Rescue Ireland and the work that they do. And then we also have the gang. So Linda from the Courtown Community Association as well. Oh, I believe I have the name wrong there. It's in my next slide. I'll have the name right. I'll pop on here. Courtown Community Council was provided us with refreshments afterwards, which was really nice. So a big collaborative event, getting lots of people together from different parts of the community, and then also different organizations, and trying to share as much information as possible, which I think is key to a lot of community action, coastal action, climate action, whatever it is getting everyone who all the right people involved, and sharing information, and creating a space for people to share information. So just to highlight a few of our monitoring communities, and throughout this talk, I am going to list a lot of places, but just to give you guys an indication of how many communities are out there, and the vastness and of the work that they're doing, the variety of the work that they're doing, and just hopefully that maybe if there's something that you'd like to get involved with, you can join in with one of these groups, or if you're in a different area, might be able to reach out to them or reach out to ourselves, and we can assist and help to facilitate this. So the communities, as I mentioned before, we had Explore Your Shore in the National Biodiversity Data Centre. Dave Wall ran the workshops, which were absolutely amazing. And then we also had Galway Atlantic Area, Youghal Blue and Green Community Network, Rush Tidy Towns, Seal Rescue Ireland, Courtown Community Council, and Clean Coast North Wicklow. We have all been collaborators on our events throughout 2025. So we've done several events, workshops all around the country. And then just a few more if you'd like to take a screenshot of, or we'll send you links on afterwards. Just a couple of more marine citizen science and advocacy organizations to follow. Ocean literacy is key. Our marine environments are not very well understood by the general public. It is essential that we do understand these areas to try and protect them. So I encourage everyone to get involved with citizen science, advocacy. Trying to learn about these places is absolutely, it's as I said, it's a joy, but it's also very important. Just to give a shout out, that Coast Watch there is still running their autumn survey. So if anyone is interested in getting straight away hands-on some citizen science experience, I believe Coast Watch have extended the deadline up to maybe the 22nd. And so you can pop onto Coast Watch website and you can register for it. Nice. And then next step. Okay, so previously we looked at the beach cleans. We looked at moving to the next step about bringing in kind of maybe circular economy, maybe starting to look at different ways that we can use the things that we find on the beach. And so the next step for the monitoring communities, just wanted to highlight this community organization. They're relatively new, but Banner Glow from Liscannor Bay in County Clare. But they're doing some amazing stuff. I definitely recommend following them on Instagram. And the same with all of the groups that I mentioned. Most of these have a social media pretty decent brilliant social media, and that's one of the probably the unsung things of running a community group, is having to keep the social media alive. So Banner Glow have launched their Community Biodiversity Action Plan, and why I'm highlighting this one is that they have integrated marine citizen science into their Community Biodiversity Action Plan, and I believe there's not many that do this. And as you know, if you're a part of a community group, or if you have, if you're thinking of starting to do a Community Biodiversity Action Plan, and you are by the coast, integrating the marine environment would be absolutely amazing, because again, it is just probably it is quite often forgotten about. As us land lovers, as us walking on the terrestrial, we might forget about the impacts that happen in the sea, but they are key to ensuring that we preserve nature, ensuring that we also preserve life on this planet. And they're key to us having controlled climates, having food, having jobs. They are key to life, our oceans. So we do need to consider them when we are, if we can consider it when we're putting together an action plan, would be amazing. Another thing to highlight is that Banner Glow worked quite closely with the Irish Whale and Dolphin Group, and I believe the Irish Whale and Dolphin Group were a huge support to them throughout the whole process. A number of events that they did throughout the process was they got Dave Wall. So from the previous two slides, Dave came out for a very successful Explore Your Shore event. I believe they had a good few, maybe tens of people there, which was great, and young and old. They also did an investigation of their local wetlands, and they went out whale and dolphin watching with the Irish Whale and Dolphin Group. Now, there was a significant amount of skills within the group. They did have ecologists, so that is important to note, but they did have to get in an external ecologist for making the action plan. But yeah, they brought in a load of different, so that's the same thing, that collaboration, trying to bring in different people to the table so that we're not all trying to do our own things in our own little siloed pockets, that we're sharing the information that we find and we're working with groups that work in this space all the time and getting their knowledge is essential. So yeah, a really cool project to look at and encourage everyone to integrate the marine environment into action plans if they're looking to put one together. So we're still in monitoring, but we're heading towards restoration. I want to highlight two projects that are quite really cool, and they're still in the marine environment. And the marine environment is quite a tough one to work in. Unfortunately, from a Clean Coast point of view, we don't have insurance to cover it, so all of our work is on land. But there is a couple of groups that have, whether because they're part of a diving group or that they are a swimming group, have been able to actually investigate seagrass beds, so zostra beds. So in Ireland, we have two different types of seagrass or eelgrass. We have Zostra marina, which is the is common eelgrass, and then we have the Zostra nulti, which is the dwarf eelgrass. The Zostra marina is more of a subtidal species, so that's below the low tide mark, and it's a wider and longer plant, while the Zostra nulti is shorter and it can be exposed. It's more intertidal, so it gets exposed to air throughout the day as the tides go in and out. Seagrass is a true plant, which I always think is quite an offensive term to algae, because I feel like maybe algae thinks whether a plant is true is relative to where you call home, but they are a true plant in the language that we have. And so that means that they have roots and they've got rhizomes, they've got leaves and they've got flowers and they grow down into the sand, as opposed to algae, who floats along as a wee planktonic stage and then grabs hold of a rock and has a hold fast like a hand that holds onto it and then grows from that. So the algae is not actually growing from the sediment itself or the sea floor. It is actually holding onto a rock and then growing from that. Seagrass offers us amazing coastal protection. It can dampen storms. It improves our water quality. They are carbon sinks, so they are sequestering carbon quite successfully, bringing it down into the roots, and then they can hold it in the seabed. And they create oxygen, so they're pretty smashing plants. They're biodiversity hotspots. They're nurseries for marine life, so we have loads of little fishies living in them. And then they support huge food webs, so they're really biodiverse hotspots. And just to show you that, I've got a wee video that hopefully should play of a conger eel. So this was down with Discovering Scuba. I was out in Oyster Haven in Cork during the summer months with James Northover, and he sent me on this video. But this was from our trip when we went for a wee dive around the seagrass bed. So a conger eel. Nice, cool. So you can see there, there's obviously some green algae. There's a variety of different algae floating around there. But if we look at the long strands, the grass-like strands, that is our Zostra marina there. And you can see that conger eel even hanging out, kind of swimming around there. How much protection it's given it from other if there was a predator coming along, it's able to hide very easily and get away. But yeah, it's from really small things, we amphipods living on the leaves, all the way up to our larger species like the conger eel here. Or I believe if memory is correct, we came across a dogfish as well while we were out there, which is a kind of small enough shark species. And a great picture there from Sean Bruin. And this is actually from our Love Your Coast photography competition, which we do every year. And this is out at Baldoyle, I believe. No, Balbriggan. Sorry, excuse me. Balbriggan Harbour, an amazing wave coming over there. But just, yeah, the environmental services to us of seagrass is amazing. They're important spots, and it will be cool if we can start looking after them and restoring them. And with that, Oh, stop that. Here's some people that are trying to look after them and restore them. So I've highlighted 2 communities. And again, as I'm going through this, guys, if there's any projects that you think I've missed out on, or if you think I don't even know about it, and it is an important one to note within this topic, and maybe for me to do a bit of research onto, would be great. You could just pop that in the chat, or you can email us afterwards and let me know. And I would really, as many examples as possible of the work that people are doing around the coast of Ireland to protect this spot is great. I think it's important for people to know that people are really trying to care for this area, and there's a huge amount of them trying to do it. So more examples, the merrier. So 2 projects here. We've got Baldoyle Bay Seagrass Restoration Project. In front of you here, you have Yvonne Nolan and Councillor Joan Hopkins, who are the founders. So Yvonne Nolan is with the Ocean Breakers Sea Swimming Group. And the 2 of them, the aim of their project is to try and revive the lost seagrass ecosystem in Baldoyle Bay, with the participation of both local communities and the government. And they are, I believe they are actively monitoring the site, so monitoring their seagrass bed there, and looking at options to see how we could revive this, and increase the growth. And again, more seagrass, the potential for more protection, for cleaner water, for carbon sinks. It's just a win-win. So an amazing project, and I encourage everyone to go and have a look at that. Or if you ever see that the guys are doing a talk, definitely to go along. A really great project to follow. And then we move over to the other side of the coast, and we have Fenit Coast Care, and their monitoring of seagrass beds as well. We have the gang there. So Ed, and who's on the far left, and third in from the left, Trish. I had the absolute pleasure of hanging out with them one day and going for a snorkel around their seabeds. The community group are doing amazing work trying to locate as many and map as many of the seagrass beds within their area. Hopefully there will be a link in the chat box there to the study at Black Rock Pool. And so again, remembering this is coming from a community group and not necessarily, this has been driven by the community, so not like an academic institute or anything like that, but a very in-depth study, and they documented 69 species of different species in the Zostra marina seagrass habitat. And they tracked 6 flowering stages and analyzed seasonal spatial patterns of flowering and microhabitats, which is an amazing effort and work to go in to look after, I suppose, recognizing these important habitats, these local habitats, and trying to look after them as best as possible. Cool. Whirlwind of all of these projects. Now we're going to jump into our next habitat. I'll just pop a video on.
Ireland's dunes are important habitats for many plants and animals. They offer us natural protection against high seas and storm events. Our dunes are, however, in crisis. These fragile ecosystems, essential for coastal protection and biodiversity, face mounting threats from climate change, invasive species, and human activities. Clean Coast communities and staff are working to help reverse this environmental decline. Through hands-on restoration projects, community education, advocacy and collaboration, our volunteers are at the forefront of efforts to protect and enhance these vital habitats. This World Sand Dune Day, let's celebrate these wonderful biodiverse habitats and always remember to protect our dunes.
Nice. So we've transitioned from our marine environment, looking at both subtidal projects and intertidal projects. So again, that point between the high tide mark and the low tide mark, and monitoring marine species within that area. And we're taking a step then onto the land moving inwards into a transitional area that brings our marine environment to an end, and then starts our terrestrial or our land-based species and plants. So dune restoration, and actually before I go on, I must just give a shout out. So the project for that video there was LEAF, on Taisce's LEAF program, and then also presentation secondary in Tralee down in Bana Beach. So thank you to the both those community groups for getting involved. Community restoration for dunes. Okay, so you can see a lovely map here. We've got all of the spots around the coast of Ireland where we have either Clean Coast groups themselves on their own, or through Clean Coast development staff have run some sort of dune restoration project. And this is, I suppose, a bit of an estimate. It's kind of hard to monitor these things, as we said, that our groups are self-sufficient, or that is the aim, to get to them to that point. Although we do recommend for all of any restoration projects that we're looking at, you do collaborate with Clean Coast development staff, first of all, just to get an idea of how to do things, and then you can move on to, if it's a project that can kind of be self-sufficient and keep going itself, we'll link you in with local authorities, MPWS, to make sure that you're well sorted, and hopefully it can continue for many seasons after that. So here's a bit of a backstory about our dune restoration projects. So they have been community-led from the start. In 2006, Portmarnock Community Association has introduced Clean Coast development staff to dune restoration. And I think this is an important description or describer of how Clean Coast work, is that we are community-led. Whatever the community's concerns, requirements, to the best of our abilities, we will try to facilitate some sort of conversation or some sort of action to try and help with them. In this case, it was completely community-led, so Portmarnock Community Association, again, were well skilled and versed in the marram grass planting specifically, and they then were able to introduce that to Clean Coast development staff. Clean Coast development staff were then able to go all around the country and teach other groups how to do it, which was brilliant. We have done 70 plus actions completed since 2006. And again, it's hard to have an exact number on that, because there has been projects that have happened away from development staff, but in and around that amount. So that an action being whether it's marram grass planting, invasive removal, fencing project, whatever it is, considered as an action by a group. And then we have 40 plus unique sites all around the Republic of Ireland. So you can see all around the coast here, it's relatively well distributed. I will say that we are obviously limited by locations. So not everywhere is suitable for planting, or not everywhere is suitable for fencing, or not everywhere is suitable for invasives removal, of course. So it is by a case-by-case basis. So it's not that we can always get to all of the spots, but we try our best to facilitate something when we're out in a location, even if it's just education about dunes. So our dune community. So again, when I say about, I suppose, development staff and working with the communities, we do have a practical guide to marram grass planting, which is available to community groups. Again, though, we do always advise that you do this through Clean Coasts, or if there's an alternative organization, just ensuring that it is someone who has done this practice before and is going by. There is a set of I suppose, steps that must be taken to ensure that we are protecting these areas as best we can, and we're not doing damage when we think that I suppose we're trying to restore it, we could potentially be doing damage. So just always make sure to, I'll go into more detail on it, but National Parks and Wildlife Service, local authorities, and even private landowners all need to be a part of the discussion when we're looking at projects like this. So a couple of dune communities just to highlight. And again, this is like a small portion. As you saw, there's a huge amount of work that's been done, but just we can pop a few up on screen to see the vastness, and again see the amount of people that are trying to look after the coast, which is just it's just so positive, right? So yeah, we've Tremor Eco Group and Maharees Conservation Association. I would totally advise you to go and check out their websites. They've got lots of details on the projects and the work that they've done. We've got Fianna Coast Conservation once again, looking after seagrass and their sand dunes. Rush Tidy Towns, they were doing the monitoring, now they're looking after their sand dunes. Inchjohnny Dunes Conservation, Friends of Rosnella, Fanna Coastal Group. We've got County Sligo Surf Club again. And we've got Wakalissa, Port Marnock Community Association, Coney Island Community, Falcarra Clean Coast, Bettystown Tidy Towns, Streeja Conservation Group, Mullaghmore Active, Banna Coast Care, Spanish Point Community Group, and Culdaff Tidy Towns. And I know that's just me reading out a load of list of names, but I think it's really essential and important that when we're talking about community coastal action, that we recognise the communities that are doing coastal action, and there's tons of them. And it gives me an absolute honour to be able to present them to you guys. And I would advise you to learn more about them, get in touch, chat to them, invite them to talks, whatever it is. They are doing amazing work in their local areas. And there's so many more, but we just have a certain amount of time. And here's my disclaimer, always caution, Natura 2000 designated and sensitive sites. These are really, really sensitive habitats. Any actions that we do in them need to be extremely considered. So this is why I advise, if you are a community group looking to do it, that you are getting in touch through Clean Coast is a great way to do it, because we are well versed in facilitating between local authorities and MPWS. But if there's another organisation that does the same thing, just always remembering that these are really sensitive habitats, and we need to be very considered and have everyone on board when we're looking to do an action in them. So yeah, as I said, it's site specific, and we must make sure that we do environmental checks before we start doing anything. All right, cool. So I've two last slides for you, but we'll just do a nice little video here. This is an example of an action that happened this week, over the weekend. Two events to kick off Climate Action Week out in North Bull Island. We were looking at removing invasive sea buckthorn from the dunes, so it doesn't always have to be adding marram grass to a site or putting in fencing. Sometimes you can start removing invasives. Just to say, we had a wonderful partnership with Dublin Bay Biosphere, Dublin City Council. We had the North Bull Island Nature Volunteers out. We got advice from invasives.ie as well, and the National Biodiversity Data Centre when we were organising it. Which is a little video here to show us what we were doing.
Okay, I don't know. Responsible way.
Well, just the branches with the berries.
Oh, thank God.
Their dogs and
Okay, hold on, because everything's
FIM application.
great stuff. Thank you.
Oh, say no!
Nice. So just a couple of different activities we tried to put into the 2 days. So we did, you saw removing sea buckthorn berries. So sea buckthorn is a medium invasive risk, but it can do some serious damage to our dunes. So getting those berries off meant that we were, I suppose, reducing the risk of spread throughout the dune system. North Bull Island is one of Ireland's most protected sites, so a very important spot, and the dune habitats are one of the only, I believe, to be accreting. So the island is continuously growing at the moment, and it's the biggest dune habitat that you'll have on the east coast of Ireland as well. We also then looked at doing some mapping of invasive species, but it also turned into just generally trying to get to know our dunes, or having a date with our dunes was what we were talking about. And then finally, you saw a little video of pods. So there is some everlasting sweet pea that is starting to take hold in the dunes as well, potentially maybe due to warming temperatures. But we just went around and we were removing the pods. again, stop the spread. So, but always, again, that was done in line with all of the people who are managing the island with the best care to ensure that we didn't do any more damage than what we were trying to, the damage that we were trying to stop, that we weren't adding to it. So just really key throughout the whole discussion is like, if we want to do an action, just make sure we've considered everything and we have the right people involved. MPWS, local authority are your best place to start. And again, Clean Coast can help you with facilitating that if you would like. Perfect. So just a quick one, more on collaboration. We are part of the, this is run by Caro. You can see the variety of different organizations that are involved. The Protect Our Dunes campaign has been running for a number of years. We are also part of the Beaches and Dunes Forum, so I encourage you to have a look at that if you have concerns about your dunes or if you want to chat to like-minded people about the dunes. And in 2026, we're hopefully with ACT, Leave No Trace, University of Galway, UCD, University College Dublin, Caro, so the Climate Action Regional Offices, and then Clean Coast. We are hopefully going to be, we are going to be running a number of workshops around sand dunes in 2026. So keep an eye on this space, follow these organizations, follow ourselves, and we should have details about that coming up in the next couple of months. Last from me, what to do next? Work together. Support each other, collaborate loads, learn more, and ask for better. Work together, get involved with your community. It feels cool. Feels cool to work with like-minded people. It's a good buzz. You'll make nice friends. You'll share experiences. You'll share concerns and worries, and you make a tangible difference on your local area. Support each other with your actions. Support organizations that are trying to work in this area. When we talk about the marine protected areas, people like Irish Wildlife Trust, Fair Seas are doing amazing work to try and advocate for our marine environments. So supporting organizations like this is hugely important. Collaborate loads. I didn't even count how many organizations I mentioned throughout that talk, and community groups, but there was tons of them. There's loads of people working in this space, and everyone is generally pretty open to collaboration as long as they have capacity for it. So yeah, I encourage you to collaborate with all of our endeavors when it comes to climate action, coastal action. Learn more, find out about what's around you, find out about the nature that's around you, maybe find out about the stuff that we might be losing, because it needs someone to look after it. And I think we can be advocates for it, and ask for better. Ask for better protections for our environment. Ask for better respect of our local areas, that we can do more, and we can make this place a bit better for the nature that is there. And that is me. Thank you so much for listening.
Liane, thanks a mil. That was brill. Although we work together, I always feel like I learn something new. As Liane said, I'm based down in Donegal, so it's always really nice to hear of all the other lovely things happening around the country with different groups. So just over 10 minutes left, guys. So we'll just do a quick Q&A. Make sure, to pop them into the Q&A function or to the chat function, if possible. We have one already in, Liane. So it's basically just asking how can they get involved, join a Clean Coast group, or keep up to date with actions. So I think really social media would be the best way to keep up to date with our actions. Would you agree, Liane? And then in terms of groups, if you want to reach out to your local development officer, they'll be able to put you in contact with perhaps a local group in your area, or else, you can always start one too.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you want to get in touch with Clean Coast, and I will also say as well, we are a very small team for a large number of groups. So if you are from this talk, if you are getting in touch, you can put my name or Sinead's name maybe in it, just to mention that you heard a talk from us. And if it gets sent on to us, we can then send you on to the correct person. Follow us on social media, definitely. You can register through our website as well. And if you have any cool projects that you're thinking of, do get in touch, because that's what we do is, within, I suppose, we try our best. There's a lot of projects.
Within reason.
Within reason. We really do try our best. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, exactly. So just quickly then, Leanne, a couple of things I guess we talk about quite often is, I guess, when groups or when, participants on this webinar are looking at all the cool things that are happening with different groups around the country. I think sometimes it can feel a little bit intimidating, seeing all the actions that are occurring, on the marine space definitely and on the coast. But I think it's important to highlight that those groups did start with just beach cleaning. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about beach cleaning and how it's kind of an entry point for communities to take on climate action projects and how powerful it can be, I suppose.
Yeah, so I suppose, yeah, there's kind of there's like a load of different variety of groups, right, that come to us. There could be established groups that kind of they're looking at their biodiversity already. And so it's not to get intimidated by these groups because they potentially are already on a path and they've joined Clean Coasts because we do have a community grant fund that goes out every year around February and March. So maybe they would like to use that for getting insurance or equipment. But a lot of people join first as a cleanup group, and what happens when you go on a cleanup is that, like, again, as I said, it's a really easy action. You walk around with a litter picker. You have to walk so slowly, so you cannot go fast at all. Like, you have to
Very
take your time.
mindful.
Very mindful. Like, I've never done one with headphones in. Maybe someone does, but like, you're generally out by the coast. You're listening to the lovely sounds that are happening. And you start to find other bits on the beach, like you might find like a shell, and you're like, oh, what's this shell? Or you might find, like, out in Bull Island, you quite often, when I was out last week, came across like a green sea urchin, and someone picked it up. I was like, oh, what's this? Someone found a sea mouse as well, which is quite a crazy looking isopod worm, or is it polychaete? Anyway. Don't hold me to it. It was a wee worm, a marine worm. They're crazy looking. And so you start to notice these things, and then maybe you start to build up a bit of an interest in it. And I think from there people start going, you're gone out one year, and then you go out the next year and you start to see a seasonal change. Or you start to notice that, like, this part of the dune, actually loads of campers have been coming here, or, we've noticed that there's like a new trail that started, and that local knowledge is like so key and important. And then actions can start happening from there, which is great. But that local knowledge is absolutely invaluable information that I don't know if is being captured at a higher level. And I do think communities and local guardians are kind of key to that. I suppose if you're looking at it as a small scale, that kind of very fine refinement of their area, looking at just what's happening in their spot. Yeah, so it starts with
Yeah.
a beach clean, and then it can go anywhere. Like, it
Yeah.
depends how much. And then with Clean Coast, we try to facilitate that as much as possible. So we would have, as I said, we were out doing sea buckthorn at the weekend. Sinead, I believe you were for the World Sand Dune Day. You were doing an event with Life on Macker, which again is an amazing organization working with the
Yeah.
communities up in Donegal, getting people together, doing workshops around the dunes, sitting looking at flowers for the fit test, like just sitting watching a flower and seeing what bugs come to it. We could do screenings, we could do information shares. I think it just, once you're in and you start the interest in it and the passion, it starts to expand from there.
Yeah, definitely. So there's no kind of I guess assumption or pressure to jump to something big straight away. I know last year I was down in Wexford. I was involved in with Ballygarrett Tidy Towns. They were doing their regular litter picks, and they then expanded that to habitat protection when it comes to the little tern, as they noticed the little tern was nesting there and they wanted to try and protect it a little bit more. So they got working with the MPWS and the guides down in Knoxink Park. So they started working with them to build kind of a project around that. So I think it kind of happens quite organically and naturally. But definitely, as you say, Leanne, start with the litter pick and see where you go from there.
Yeah. And again, I think that's also just a highlight. That's an amazing project that I did not mention in this presentation.
I know
Like,
there's
it's
so
so
many of
many.
them.
It's
You
just,
can't.
if anyone wants to find out more, like, it's just, there's so many cool things going on. So, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So I guess if anyone, guys, has any other questions, do pop them in, but we have 5 minutes left. So I think maybe one of the things you touched on there, Liane, which might be important to highlight, is this kind of idea of ocean literacy, and how important that is, for communities. We talked about local knowledge there, and that is part of, ocean literacy and understanding your local environment. But I guess, what do you feel is Clean Coast's role in that, and how can we support that a little bit more?
Yeah, I suppose from our point of view, it is getting people on board, right? So we are, I think I said it a few times, but like that, the kind of the first step into environmentalism, or the first rung on the ladder. And it's not like that's just where we sit. We sit in a variety of different places, and we can support people and I suppose facilitate knowledge learning at lots of different levels. But our aim is to get as many people on board as possible, and just giving them that first step and then leading them. So I had a slide there with all of the and again, not an exhaustive list. I probably missed someone off my presentation, and I've probably missed, and please do send them on to me. But I had that picture with the marine citizen science advocacy and ocean literacy organizations. And our aim is to, I suppose, link the community group, our community groups, in with whoever it is, but people working within this space, and how much we can, and that's one of the big goals for us, is to try and see if we can, using our I suppose our specialties in facilitation, is that linking between those organizations. Now those organizations as well, most of them are amazing at linking in with communities anyway, but I suppose if we can add any bit more to it, because we've a lot of different varieties of communities. Maybe not everyone's maybe super interested in it. So you have to. We do corporate events as well to try and get to build up money for our grant funds. And even you're getting a corporate group out. Maybe they don't really have any interest in learning about it at all. So how do you get them on board? And I think that's where we sit, and where our community groups sit as well. Like our community groups are working within their own local areas to try and increase awareness and share knowledge. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I think, it's so important. That sort of piece on collaboration is so important, and that's kind of what I guess boosts ocean literacy within communities, and also ourselves. Like, we say this all the time, Liane, don't we, that we learn so much from our community groups because they're across different spaces, and they're coming from different backgrounds and different knowledge. So, we really learn so much from them. It's a two-way street, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Two-way street, community-led. It's a discussion, it's a collaboration, it's an idea. It's like, this sounds cool, let's give it a go. And that's what it's all about, working together.
Yeah. I think we might nearly be at time there, are we, Mariana? She's coming on to kick us off.
No, actually, I was thinking, we started this webinar last year, and it's a pleasure for me because every time and every session, and we have been covering a few things this year. As you said, Sinéad, at the beginning, it's a pleasure for me, like organizing a webinar that maybe others can enjoy, but first, I am joining the webinar, so it's really nice to know more and try to share that information with other groups. I will definitely encourage everyone who is listening now, or maybe those who are watching later in another time, this webinar, just to contact the group if they have any doubt or whatever, to send an email to the group. And if you need a Clean Coast group close to your house, they will help you. And it's lovely activity just to go to the sea and maybe being your own thoughts, cleaning the beach is the way to start. Then from there, you can just go to the sky is the limit, but
take over the world.
Exactly. So yeah, thank you very much, Liane and Sinéad, for joining us in this episode. So thank you very much, and we will share this with this video, and we're gonna put this on YouTube so everyone can watch it again. A few things that I want to say before we finish. We're gonna share a feedback form, so we learn from our experience. So everybody watching, if you can fill that form and share after with us would be great. We are still in Climate Action Week until Sunday, so we have so many activities in Taylor's Hall, most of them organized by the Climate Ambassador Program, but also all around the world. So I'm going to share in a second the link for our website in the chat box. And also I'm going to share it by email, but please visit climateactionweek.ie and you can find all the information about all the events around, more than 200 events around Ireland happening this week. So enjoy it, most of them free also. Finally, Climate Ambassador Program, open application. So if you want to know more about the program, visit the Climate Ambassador website. And if you want to apply, you can join us for next year. With that said, this is the second year of the webinar. Very happy and glad that everybody, all the people join, and the speakers and people who help us with the Q&A. In the first season, we were looking at the skies and, you know, looking at the dark skies and learning about the birds and the pollinators. Second year, we dive into the ocean. And we learn from different species, habitats, and now climate activities, climate action. And next year, hopefully, we're going to be with the feet on the soil. So thank you very much. Stay tuned, and let's gonna see us next year for another year of Not Stopping Now. Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Bye.
guys.
Bye, guys. Thank you.